Have you tried making your first game but just ended up being overwhelmed, confused, or frustrated? My name is Marvin and I'm a software engineer. In this video, I'll give you 5 steps to help you create your first game. Step 1. Pick an engine. If you don't know what engine to pick, you should pick Unity. Unreal and Godot are both good options, but I think Unity is the easiest for beginners to start with. It has a massive community, which means there are plenty of people answering questions and creating content about the engine. You can also create games without using an engine. The main advantage of not using an engine is that you have complete control and understanding of how everything works. The main disadvantage is the time and knowledge required to make even the most simple game, especially in 3D. So if your goal is to make games, I'd recommend starting with an engine. Step 2. Go through a tutorial. When starting out in an engine, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what the right questions are to ask, and you don't know the basic workflow of making a game in that engine. So you'll want a tutorial that will introduce you to the basics and give you the right questions to ask when searching for solutions to your problems. When learning something new, I usually start with the official resources and documentation provided by the developers. Unity has a website dedicated to teaching people about the software, learn.unity.com. I recommend the Unity Essentials and the Unity Junior Programmer pathways when getting started. Once you've either completed these tutorials or think you've learned enough to get started, you should start on your first game. It's very common for beginners to spend all their time on tutorials and to never actually make anything themselves. The main reason for this is that following a tutorial feels like you're making a lot of progress very fast, but making something yourself is slow and uncomfortable. When you make something yourself, you'll get stuck on things that you think should be easy. You'll not be sure if you're doing something the right way, and you'll feel like you learn nothing from all the tutorials you watched. That's normal. Generally, you should think of tutorials as giving you a broad overview of how to do something, answering a specific question, or showing you a different way of how to do something. Step 3. Define your first game. After you've been introduced to the basics of the game engine, you should create a simple design document of your first game. This document should just describe at a high level what your game should be. Some of the things to think of when making a design document are player control, basic gameplay, sound and effects, gameplay mechanics, user interface, and other features. Having an idea about all these things before you start will make the development process a lot easier. Your first game should be very simple and unoriginal. Your first game is not the time to be ambitious. Your first game is about applying the basics. I'd say pick a simple game that already exists and try to recreate it. If you make a game that already exists, you already know how the player should be controlled, what the gameplay mechanics are, what the user interface is, and how sound and effects have been used. Examples of some simple games that you could recreate are Flappy Bird, Pong, and Doodle Jump. Step 4. Create the MVP. The MVP is the minimum viable product. This is the least amount of functionality required to meet your game definition. In this stage, the only thing that matters is the core functionality. It doesn't have to look nice, it doesn't have to be balanced, it just has to work. Step 5. Add features and polish. Once you have a game that works, you can start adding features to improve the game and adding polish to the work that's already been done. Examples of things you can add in this stage are collectibles, power-ups, custom assets, animations, music, additional levels. The list is endless. It can be tempting to spend a lot of time at this stage, but remember, your first game will probably be your worst game, so don't try and make the game perfect.